Welcome to VetLine, your gathering place for veteran culture, answering your VA questions. With your hosts, the Natron Don and your Uncle Wilt.
Welcome to VetLine, and this is your host, the Natron Don, and with me is your Uncle Wit. And tonight we are talking current events from this week regarding VA issues. Uncle Wit, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going brilliant. It's been a bit of a break. I was sad that I couldn't tune in more last week and get our podcast off. But you know what? Duty calls. I got a family. You know, there's butts to wipe and diapers to take out and trash to put on the street and dishes to. You understand? I don't
Absolutely. I couldn't empathize more. Hey, extenuating circumstances, man. Sometimes labors of love just got to be pushed to the side for the more harsher realities.
The harsh realities, which, of course, are labors of love. We have to remind ourselves that as long as the poop coming out of the butt is my child, I'm happy to do it.
Right. Plus, that you're paid for the food to be made.
Right. To grow and transform and turn into muscle tissue and, God willing, functional organs.
Right.
So the poop is actually a blessing.
All right. Well, we'll start the show with a little scatology, but today we're actually talking about some current events. Some articles I found, or we kind of gathered this week from Twitter.
Oh, boy.
I know.
The twatting.
The twatting. We got some good twats. Some good ones, some good stories. And I'll post all the links for today's story in the show notes. I guess first I would like to say I am super surprised with, surprised with just how easy it is to put on a show like this via the internet. I imagine 15 years ago, what I did today or have been doing in the last 2 days would have required quite a few individuals, a team of people who would have had to make many trips to many libraries and make many phone calls, and rather, good God, Google helped me out in these last 2 days and give me all the information I need. So I want to thank the Lord Google for doing what he did. The all-knowing.
Yeah, the all-knowing, the omnipotent Google. In Google we trust, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely. Go. I'll be the first priest. You like it?
Googly.
Googly moogly, dude.
Google. Amen.
Right. Very nice.
Hey.
A deep baritone.
I grew up in the church, too.
That's right.
So, you know.
What's going on here? Let's see here.
I don't know. We hit a lull.
I'm I'm looking for these sound effects.
The drummer's passed out.
Right.
How do you know when the stage is level? The drummer's drooling on both sides of his mouth. Yeah.
Hey. So on that note, we're going to talk about an interesting point that was brought up by the Secretary of Defense this week.
Oh, boy. SecDef.
Right.
What does he have to say?
SecDef, Ash Carter. First of all, could there be a less glamorous title than Secretary? Like, he told his aging mother that he became Secretary of Defense. And
like in the UK.
There's a lot of phones to answer.
In the UK, they call it Minister of Defense. Or that sounds like way more official or like authoritarian. I think Secretary, the chosen, maybe it had different meanings back when they were forming the government, but I kind of like it because it makes it sound less threatening. When you think about the potential that the Minister of Defense or the Secretary of Defense, has, you're going to be like, the Secretary's just answering the phones for the President, so he's not really doing much, which is total crap because SecDef, he's in charge of everything defense.
I guess
So
I didn't notice that. I guess
it's a vernacular trick, and if I can
Right.
offer anything to listeners beyond just professional VA knowledge, it's my own what I feel is a very keen perception to the vernacular trickery in American culture, and illuminate the words that we use and how they either emphasize something that somebody else really wants us to know and react to, or de-emphasize something that they want us to passively graze over. So titles like, Secretary of Defense, there's a bunch more, right?
Well, we'll get to some more secretaries in a minute.
Yeah,
But
so SecDef says what?
So, well, we're talking about this is a article by the Stars and Stripes published on April 1st, 2015.
You sure it isn't a lie? They're not like fucking with you?
I don't know, but it's authored by a man named John Harper, and the headline is Carter, semicolon, time to think about post-military career is while still serving, and it opens up with, in Syracuse, New York, the Pentagon and service members need to have a longer-term view when it comes to preparing troops for their post-military civilian careers. And this is a quote from Secretary of Defense Ash Carter to the Syracuse University on Tuesday, 2 weeks ago. On, I guess that would have been not the 31st, but 7 days before the 31st, whatever math is. However that goes. 24th, I imagine, of March.
Fucking math.
So essentially what he's talking about is he's trying to start a new push for individuals entering the military to start thinking about a career when they're exiting the military. And I guess it's a very interesting point of view, because you would seem that that could kind of be more of a distraction in my mind. But let's talk. I'll give you a little bit more. He's talking to Syracuse University. He was teamed up with talking to, it's called the Institute for Veterans and Military Families.
Right.
And it's focused on tackling the economic, social, and policy concerns. He had a discussion with these leaders, the leaders of this association, for a new initiative called Onward to Opportunity. And this is kind of a trial pilot program that they're running at the Joint Base Lewis McChord, Washington, or Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington.
Yeah.
And and a couple other military installations. But essentially what this is it's trying to help transitioning service members and families acquire some skills that they need to land good jobs in the private sector. And they're thinking of doing this by giving education, giving training curriculum, and classroom training, distance learning techniques such as probably internet, online classrooms and such. Apply these to people before their separation.
I want to stop you. I want to pump the brakes. Let's screech to a halt. First of all, addressing the idea of a program in general is brilliant, because the governing bodies, those in power, those that have, we've gone over this in past shows, but I'll reiterate that modern conflicts have been fought by about 4, maybe less than 4% of the population, and these are predominantly groups of individuals that come from that don't have the opportunities that those that can afford to go to college and have career paths. We're talking about mostly the economically handicapped, not depressed, but just there's economic barriers, and these wars were fought by a mostly predominant middle to, I guess, lower economic class of American culture, and this is a two-front war. We put that in perspective. World War II, something like 75% of Congress people had family members that were directly involved in the war effort, as opposed to now there's something like 3. So a little perspective on that. I think it behooves the government, the country at large, to offer some kind of program to help veterans transition, find career paths, so on and so forth. Because if all they know is war, and they get out, even with a great benefit like the GI Bill, if you have no plan, if you have no real direction, then what are you going to do? You're going to become alienated. You're going to go to school and you're going to be like, wow, look at all these, little pricks that don't know anything, and I've been, to Afghanistan twice, and or whatever.
Yeah. Oh no, I totally felt that way.
And you feel alienated, and you get angry, and then it becomes us versus them, veteran versus everybody else. And as we've also discussed, what do veterans know? They know how to fight war, and they know how to stick together, and they know how to support each other. If all the veterans, as has been proven, let's say, post World War I, promises were made, veterans were not taken care of, you had a big problem on your hands. Shays Rebellion was the revolution. I think it was Shays Rebellion. After Revolutionary War, you had the militia members that were promised certain payment if the war was won. Payment wasn't made, so they got their guns and they stormed government buildings.
Wow.
So, that being said, you understand why the government or the country at large has a vested interest in taking care of veterans, or at least helping them develop these plans. Because if you come from economically depressed areas, or the child of maybe a single mother or something, and you join the service to create a better life for yourself, and you did all the things that was asked of you, you got out honorably, you have an education benefit, but yet maybe you served in the infantry where there isn't a lot of job application skills beyond like law enforcement or contracting, and basically going back to war. That being said, they are on the right track in thinking about this. I will say that
is exciting. There's one more point that the good old secretary brought up, and so Secretary Carter had brought up an interesting idea. He brought it up to the DoD about expanding a pilot program that let people put a pause in their military career, or while they're trying to get a degree, or while they're trying to start a family, which would give them a little bit more flexibility and choice, he said, in deciding their next job in the military.
Oh, man.
Which is an interesting subject. And he ended this kind of article by saying, by Secretary Carter saying that we can't offer them a conveyor belt where you get on and you just don't move until you get off.
Right.
And so that's an interesting way of ending that article.
That is.
The last lines, because that's kind of what it is. It is a very.
It kind of gave me goosebumps, man. I mean,
right.
Like to have a pause, to be like, I want to test myself and see if I can be a civilian or something. Right. Give me 2 years to see if I can do it or whatever. Boy, that is really brilliant. I mean, that's a chess play right there.
That is.
Big time. And I think, honestly, with all this rhetoric of different programs offered to active duty members, recognizing the transition for veterans as being insanely difficult, I mean, really, I see it as a positive, because their other resort on a long enough timeline is revolution.
Right. Well, I see this as a nice opening, and almost one of those. You know how I feel like the military has stepped away from their family-friendly image in the last few years, and it's really.
Well, they had a family-friendly image when the country wasn't at war, but let's be real.
A lot of images have changed since.
If you're in the service, if you're in the service, you're dedicated to a war-fighting organization, so you better be prepared to do that.
Right.
And anyone that signed the dotted line was prepared to do that, I hope.
Absolutely. But the programs like this, it seems like this could kind of open the door and create that image once again of something that could be, you could raise a family and while defending your country and kind of living this out. Rather, I know entering the military, I immediately had this
This
view. You hear
Nate,
the statistics of failed
yeah,
marriages and such, which is
this
scary. It scares you.
seriously, Nate. This is I got to interject because
Yeah.
there's a great book. They made a horrible movie out of it. They butchered the book. They turned it into a Hollywood feel good kind of a thing. But we
uh,
probably remember the title, "The Men Who Stare at Goats."
yes.
I mean, holy crap! The programs that the military was funding regarding let's try to see if we can get into like psychic warfare, like
Mm,
mind warfare.
right.
I think that where they failed in being able to just stare at somebody and have them die, in thinking about the stewardship that we offer for our military members and the world at large, if we can avoid conflict through gestures and proclamation, you know what I mean, then so be it. But I recommend that anyone listening that hears this read The Men Who Stare at Goats, because you'll learn a lot about uh, how anything goes on those higher echelon decision making chains of command. They're not above any idea if it has some kind of practical use. They're not above giving anyone LSD and having them go to war if it's going to create a better warfighter. You know what I mean? And that's why the CIA developed LSD was, well, of course, counter
Mm,
intel or like poisoning, water
right.
systems to get everyone high and hallucinating. But I mean, our government is is the most genius at accepting all ideas and then kind of triaging the ones that will have the greatest effectiveness, I guess, or what they think at the time will have the greatest effectiveness, and if it doesn't, holy crap, man, that's I just see the implications on uh, the upper echelons and residual effects if a program like that begins and is successful.
Mhm.
I mean, it would be insanely brilliant, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't I wouldn't oppose it.
It is exciting, but there's another fear in me that says what makes this program different from any other pilot program that takes place and gets lost kind of once we get excited about it, and once the
Well,
need
none.
of
That's
hype
that's where
falls,
you
it
separate, whether or
vaporizes.
not like this is something that's actually going to get funded, or whether or not it's just rhetoric.
Right,
It's just
exactly.
a thing to distract us from the realities and get all optimistic and all that. I mean, proof is in the pudding. If it's a program that rolls out, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Right,
I'm not going to hate on any program for just not working. You know what I mean? But
right.
it sounds like a step in the right direction as long as it's actually attempted, and tested to discover whether or not it works.
Hmm.
So,
So it is exciting, kind of an interesting step for the military. So look it up. Institute for Veterans and Military Families. Um, onward to Opportunity Pilots pilot program going on. Check it out. Again, the links to these will be in our show notes.
good to go.
Moving on to the next program, the next article. So there has been a lot of talk recently in the media about wait lists, long wait lists.
Oh, we're dialing
Um,
back. We're going into VA now. Ooh,
the
whoa.
VA, right? Yeah,
Let me loosen up. Let me do some stretches. Oh, get my back limber.
right.
Get my
Bureaucratic juices
stance.
flowing.
Step my right foot behind my left and get ready for this.
So, I have a number of articles. A number. I say it like I have thousands of articles. I have a few articles that we
Your
discuss.
research team has investigated and found.
Right. So, an article by the Missoulian, a daily newspaper printed in Missoula, Montana,
Mizzou.
uh, has the headline Veterans Affairs Secretary candidly discusses needs and changes at University of Montana. And This is written by Martin Kidston and published on the 31st of March, 2015. So essentially, what this is
On your birthday. Happy
I know,
birthday,
exactly.
Don.
Well, thank you, man. So we have another secretary, another phone answering fool, Secretary Robert McDonald. The Department of Veteran Affairs had a discussion.
Who was in fact a ranger, but never special forces.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh, he got in some heat because he told someone that he was in special forces, and then like the Fox News networks were going, "He wasn't in special forces." Blah, blah, blah. Wait, he wasn't. He wasn't in special forces, but he did graduate Ranger school. He was authorized to wear the Ranger, patch or whatever Army people do. So, I mean, again, we're getting into the gray area of rhetoric and English language, which is way more interesting to me than anything else. But
so in this article, Secretary McDonald does seem to be pretty candid, and they start the article by saying another quote: "Department of Veteran Affairs was ill prepared to treat an aging population of Vietnam veterans, and it's just trying to stand up now as a new generation of vets grow older." So essentially, he kind of goes into it a little bit, saying that Vietnam is to blame for this recent influx.
You're oversimplifying it.
Well,
no, I mean Vietnam. Yeah, I guess it is to blame for the load, but the reason being that you have Agent Orange.
Yes,
that was. Am I going too far ahead?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, I'll pump the brakes.
It's essentially what he said was, and here's another quote: "What really hit the VA in 2015 was Vietnam," McDonald said. "The VA was not ready. It has been, in my opinion, underfunded. It's their own fault because they said they had enough money," which is an interesting point.
Yeah, he's calling out Shinseki.
Exactly. So that's an interesting kind of whistle he blew there.
Yeah. No, by all means, blow that whistle, man.
Saying
I like to hear it.
The VA is backed up and underfunded because the VA just
has been lying.
Right. Exactly.
And good for him. I mean, I'm glad that that's at least the rhetoric he's willing to put out there. Again, actions speak louder than words, and anything that he says, if he can back it up with action, then by all means, I think he's absolutely right. The VA has been saying that they're fine, but you have an aging population of veterans that fall under, certain boots on the ground or feet on the ground Vietnam presumptions of conditions that a lot of times may or may not. I mean, I can't speak to whether or not your cancer is in fact related to Agent Orange, but some of the most common cancers that Vietnam veterans suffer from, either immediate or later in life, and diabetes type 2, peripheral neuropathy, lung cancer. Like if you're a Vietnam veteran and you get lung cancer and you smoke 3 packs of cigarettes your whole life, if you set feet on Vietnam soil and you serve there, and you can prove that, then it doesn't matter. You lung cancer, you now are presumed to be service connected for that lung cancer.
Well, so interesting.
Right, which is good. I mean, I don't care if that guy smoked a pack of cigarettes a day. I want the VA and I want the government to be accountable for the kind of contracts that they do, the dealings that they have with chemical companies to develop things like Agent Orange, and then go, oh wait, shit, there's this one thing about this, compound that causes cancer and birth defects and everything like that. I want them to have to pay for it, and I don't give a shit if the veteran smoked 3 packs of cigarettes his whole life. It makes no difference to me. That shouldn't have been done. And for every veteran that files a claim for Agent Orange presumption, lets the government know that you need to get better at the things that you do. Mm-hmm. And so I really like the fact that he called that out. He's not calling out Vietnam veterans. He's calling out the actions of the government and not not having a realistic idea of how to deal with it.
Right. It's just very interesting to that at this level of bureaucracy, it's still such a you could still hide things so well. I guess it's again goes to the fact that it is one of the biggest or the
Oh,
biggest system of its kind.
can I add something, Nate?
Yes, please.
You were deployed to the Middle East, right?
Yes, I was.
Are you privy to the respiratory issues and claims that are being denied currently for veterans of your own generation?
I do not.
Well, there are, and there are two databases that are being held. One's a private, non-for-profit. They take OEF, OAF veterans and get their information and ask certain questions, and they develop this database and so on and so forth. Well, the VA got wind of this and was like, well, we better have a database too. If you log on to the VA's database for OEF, OIF veterans and want to register to put your name on the roster, in the event that our deployment somehow turns out to be similar to that of something like an Agent Orange presumptive issue, if you go to the VA website and they say, click this link and register yourself, you'll be led directly to, this link is broken, sorry. So there is no option or recourse, at least with the VA. Of course, you can put your name. I wish I had the name of the organization that's holding a database right now. I don't, but look it up to our listeners and get yourself registered.
I'll Google it. What is it?
Well, you could Google like trash pits. Iraqi Afghanistan trash pits, or trash pit database, or something will pop up. There's one group I wish I knew who they were. Where's Radar when you need them? This would be a perfect thing.
So right now, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs site has a site for burn pits. It says burn pits have operated widely at military sites in Iraq and Afghanistan. At this time, research does not show evidence of a long-term health problems. Join the Airborne Hazards and Open Burn Pit Registry to help us learn more about potential health problems.
Join the registry. Click that link.
Check your eligibility and sign up through an online questionnaire. I'll click on it.
Nope.
Loading. Star. Oh, there's it says, is this for me? There's a little site.
Is it fixed?
I guess so. It is.
Is it a .gov?
It is a .gov. VA.gov.
Well, I belay my last. If they repair the site, I will check on this tomorrow and post something via Facebook to recant. But I want to make sure that the VA does have something that veterans can put their name into the hat.
Mm-hmm. Well,
right now, research doesn't suggest. However, research didn't suggest from the time that they stopped using Agent Orange as a defoliant in Vietnam until what? The late 90s, early 2000s?
Right.
So, I mean, my faith in the VA or DOD or just the government in general's acknowledgement of health issues and the things they've subjected service members to is not very strong. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It took a long time to get Vietnam veterans recognized for their exposure to Agent Orange, and it continues because there was other exposure, let's say in Okinawa, Germany, Guam, many other just kind of peripheral commands throughout the world that are not presumptive, and the duty to, or I guess the burden of proof is put back on the veteran to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you were exposed to it. And most of us, unless there's unit orders and some kind of piece of paper that we have that says I was exposed to Agent Orange, most of us don't keep very good track of that shit. So, Okinawa, you've heard me go off on this. I mean,
right.
In Oki, they uncovered a soccer field, I think on Camp Hansen. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be spitting out tons of bad information, but
right.
the
hard
of
the internet.
The heart and the idea is here, so do your own research, figure it out. But somewhere in Okinawa, they uncovered a soccer field full of tons of, 50-gallon barrels of Agent Orange that were buried. And the VA and the DoD still refuses to recognize that Agent Orange was ever used or transported through, Okinawa to become problematic. And this was like this year, last year, at some point, they found these barrels. So, the VA and the DoD tend to operate under the assumption that if we just close our eyes, this shit doesn't exist.
Actually, this Agent Orange thing seems to be quite controversial.
You got that right.
Some
You
people are
think
saying,
there,
some are saying,
Natron Don? I'm up to my tits in Agent Orange claims every fucking day.
some people are saying it's not there. Some people saying people are silenced. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's nuts. But again, if we go back to our generation, we think about Operation sort of dial back in the Middle East. We might be able to point to chemical weapons use and exposure from the first Gulf War. We might be able to say it's the trash pits. But why aren't U.S. troops more involved with things really hitting the fan the way they are over there when we've been over there for so long?
Right.
You know what I mean? Is it because they're weighing out the pros and cons of sending more troops that they're going to have to pay for health care and disability claims in the future? I don't put anything out of the realm of possibility when it comes to the U.S. government.
Right. You'd think that they would have thought of that previously.
You would think, but
yeah, right.
An immediate threat. I mean, if a guy comes up to you in a bar and pushes you off a bar stool, you're not exactly thinking like, well, man, if I sock this fool in the face, I might go to jail, and then I'm gonna have to get bail and call my wife or something, and then we're gonna have to pay for this and lawyer costs. You don't think about that kind of stuff, and I think that's kind of how the government operates too. Is that there's a threat? Let's use our resources to take care of it. So, we'll stick our wiener right where it wants to be at that time. And then we go, oh, man, Doc,
right.
It kind of burns when I pee. And we mitigate the rest of it from thenceforth. Does that make sense? Did I just
yeah, it does.
do a weird STD reference?
A little bit.
Yeah.
That sounds good. But to continue on about Secretary McDonald, he had an interesting point. He said that he was thinking he wanted to run the VA like a business and not a bureaucracy. He said, and what he was describing is that he's asking a little bit of flexibility from Congress in order to allocate funds where it is needed. Apparently, currently at the time, moving funds from one program to the next or from one department to the next in the VA is highly difficult and kind of wrought with litigation. And so you can't get the money to where it's needed because of this paperwork.
Right.
And so he was teaming up in this particular article by Democratic Montana Senator John Tester, and who seems to be a supporter of Secretary McDonald's kind of charge.
Okay.
And so what he's talking about is saying that he's wants to improve staffing. They've hired quite a bit, about 1,800 nurses and 900 doctors since McDonald took office.
Mm-hmm.
And he even talks about himself, Secretary McDonald, about his own healthcare problems that he didn't really feel. He said, well, Iraq and Afghanistan, it's ending. It's not ending for the VA.
No.
Yeah, right. He said, I was in the 82nd Airborne Division. I am missing discs in my lower back. It didn't bother me when I was 28, but I'm 61 now and I can't sleep at night. So that's an interesting perspective to kind of gain from what would be you would consider a leader of this bureaucracy. Is that kind of the reality of the long-standing chronic use injury, if you know what I mean. Just a slow breakdown, the wear and tear that could have begun while in the military.
Right.
or you know,
Well,
probably
he's
highly
he's
increased.
saying he's saying all the right things from a veteran and a veteran service advocate representative on both hats. He's saying all the right things.
Hmm.
Let's see if he can put his money where his dick is and make some real changes.
Hmm.
Reinstill the confidence that veterans should have in their government after serving their country. Let's see if he can do that. If he can, I'll be the first to call him out. But I'll say for now, he's saying all the right things, and it sounds like his perspective is balanced. But the proof is in the pudding,
Hmm.
So
So the Senator Tester was particularly pleased with the secretary's candor with the individuals and kind of his
how
willingness
did I
to
know you were
be
going to say
open.
candor?
Right. And his willingness to discuss problems and cures. So that was kind of interesting. And McDonald called this current stage that we're in with the VA healthcare or VA itself as the largest reorganization they had ever done. And if we have any hope of taking care of veterans, wait, excuse me, let me try that again. We have no hope of taking care of veterans if we don't take care of employees. We're putting in place a culture of continued improvement, which this is going to sound weird, but I have no idea why they put this in this article. I brought this up because we have not really talked about taking care of employees throughout this entire article, but at the very end, for some reason, they found it salient to have a little thing about taking care of employees. I found that
Well,
quite
and
confusing.
that's that. I mean, that's a good thing to do in
Yes,
in rhetoric.
in rhetoric. But that's what I think it is. Is it's essentially trying to hit your bases of making everybody feel comfortable.
Well, I
Sorry,
mean, everything that he's saying, it sounds great. It sounds
right,
really great. He's saying, like I said, all the right things. And for VA employees, which there are tons, what they're tired of is being overwhelmed with
right.
a
I bet.
dissatisfied customer base.
Hmm.
A customer base that's been marginalized in not only their health care, but many other aspects. So of course you got two people that are kind of beating each other up. You got veteran and healthcare provider. They become at odds and they become adversaries. So naturally, one gravitates towards one, and another gravitates towards another,
Hmm.
and the negative rhetoric of the VA being this broken system and full of shit and lying and not taking care of people, that permeates on the veteran side, and then you get a bunch of like VA hospital employees or claims representatives together, and they're going to have a different side of the coin. If we're not listening to each other, then we're not going to get along and we're just going to fight and not get as far as we each want to be. So in the secretary's statements, I see why he wants to take care of the VA employees. You want to have a happy work environment so that your employees take care of their customers.
Okay. I hear you now. I hear you. I was just kind of saying it was kind of weird not to talk about like not to care about employees the entire time. But at the very end, you throw in this little just to kind of round out your bases in a way.
Well, it was
Throw in a
good.
bit. Yeah,
I mean,
it's a nice thing to do. It's just a little off-putting for
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't I don't know. I don't know the secretary's like motivations for holding this position, but I got to say this for him: he is a veteran.
Mhm.
He served in the military,
Right.
and he so far has been saying the right things. And he entered the VA in a total shitstorm.
Right.
He was
Oh,
appointed to the position at its like lowest since World War One, essentially.
uh,
So I mean, he's got balls. And anyone that does something like that, hey, I'm gonna be really critical, but I'm kind of gonna be rooting for you too. I don't think he has the same agenda that Shinseki had, and that doesn't mean that Shinseki is a total antichrist, but that's how I feel about him. Um, but I mean, because he had a shitstorm too, but it was on
well,
his watch
maybe.
that the shitstorm was kind of pointed out,
Mhm.
and this guy is appointed and he has some business experience. He is a veteran. It seems to me, from what I've seen, and I'm of course always open for being educated otherwise. But he's saying the right things. He's doing the right things, and it seems like his rhetoric and his actions mesh, and they're going in a pretty good direction. So we'll just hope that that direction turns into legitimate, palpable action, and real change for once.
Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't really blaming the secretary. I was actually blaming the newspaper themselves for just kind of having an awkwardly built article.
Yeah, they kind of make him sound maybe like a D-bag for, being like, veterans. Oh, by the way, our employees, we want to take care of them too.
Right.
I'm sure that his speech or whatever talk or interview he was giving was, really well-rounded and well-constructed.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there was somebody who worked all night on this. He sat through this long speech, and then he brought it up to his editor, and he was like, "What about the employees, huh? You're going to talk about the employees? Get back to work, you asshole. Make me something." And so he goes,
America doesn't want to hear about the VA employees. America hates the VA.
Right. So he just kind of puts it in the line at the end. He was like, we have no hope of taking care of veterans if we don't take care of our employees. Is that good enough? Will that do it?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Well, again, here we get into the what I kind of addressed earlier. The modes of language and filters of communication. Like, by the time you read that, you're not getting a real honest depiction of what actually happened because you weren't there. You're relying on, the eyes and the ears of somebody reporting it, who then sends it to an editor, who then, scrutinizes the hell out of it and, wants to put the best foot forward in order to sell papers to keep that thing afloat. I mean, there's so many channels that every mode of communication has to go through before we actually get it in our own hands. You gotta be a critical thinker, You can't just turn on Fox News and think you're informed, because they're going to tell you that you're informed. Not just Fox News. I single them out because I hear it very blatant on their channels. But CNN, MSNBC, even NPR, man. I get really bent out of shape right now with the cultural rhetoric of like police and racial attitudes. I don't want to say that I'm in favor of one or the other, but the truth lies in between. And what I hear reporting, let's say on NPR, is biased against law enforcement. I'm sympathetic to law enforcement, having served a violent institution, being the country. That's it. And so, I just try to play devil's advocate where it needs to be, and I'd encourage anyone listening to do the same, because you're never going to get all the facts. You're never going to find one channel that just informs you of everything, but maybe we can help you think a different way to be more objective and demand more from the people that are reporting to you.
Word. That's what I got. I got a word.
A big fucking word.
Right.
So don't be a fucking idiot. Keep your eyes and ears open, your mouth shut. Make sense of things.
Mm-hmm.
If you need some advice on how to think about things, just keep your ears open. It'll come to you.
Word. Hey, I want to thank Radar for joining us this evening. Radar, if you want to hit us with some sounds. Hey! Welcome. He's backing us up again. So we always appreciate a third hand on deck. We have this next article comes directly from the VA.gov site itself. It's a blog, actually, written by the Dr. Caroline M. Clancy, an interim undersecretary for VA Health. What's that sound?
I was fixing my mic.
Oh, interesting.
Pay no mind.
Pay no mind. So what she's discussing here, it's titled Data Methods Used by the VA Portray Actual Veteran Experience. And what she's discussing in this article is how the VA tracks the appointments themselves, kind of in response to the big media shitstorm about VA wait times and such.
Okay.
And so what she's talking about is she kind of hits us with some numbers right off the bat. First of all, let me tell you, this blog is just full of, you want to hear the fuzzy, lovey
Well,
rhetoric.
again,
This is one
you
of those blogs that's
read
full of it.
read that blog and then read the most anti I hate the VA, they should run my life for me blog.
Right,
I
right.
mean, read those two, read them both, and then find the middle, because the truth is
Somewhere.
there.
Right.
But anyways,
So,
sorry.
um, she kind of says that she realizes that appointment wait times and has that appointment wait times have been extended, and that they're working hard to try to get them the veterans care that they need. And so she says that they have been tracking about over 80 million encounters a year. And so this is about the amount of appointment encounters that the data system kind of comes into contact with. There's about 80 million encounters a year. So this is kind of, she says, complicated and hard to track. And so they use two different categories to track the VA wait times and appointment times.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is in response to those big, the fudging of the numbers
Mm-hmm.
of appointment wait times. That was kind of a big thing.
Right.
Recently in LA, there was I think her name was Secretary Sky McGreenberg, I want to say, from LA, who testified in Congress recently. And there's been a lot of criticism that she has fudged the numbers from her own people back in her own offices, that she fudged the numbers, saying that appointment times are much shorter than they actually were. But this is there's another. There's a link to that story. It's a CNN story. Again, take it as at the CNN face value, but there's a nice kind of explanation on that story I will also set in the links, and that is the kind of controversy and the fudging of the numbers that has been going on. So this is a blog that's called Vantage Point with a heavy VA, and
Mm-hmm.
she's talking about the 80 million encounters in two categories, and that is in completed appointments and pending appointments. And
Well, look,
so,
I always want to dial back to perspective, Nate.
please.
And yeah, it doesn't mean that it's any excuse for anybody to lie, right?
Right.
Especially the VA, especially when it comes to serving fellows like yourself and other veterans.
Right.
There's no excuse to lie, but if we as veterans look back on the kind of pressure that was applied to us from supervisors when the numbers didn't always add. I mean, how many times did you do all right there, HN Natron Don, you need to go through the company compliance for dental, and you need to apply pressure to your platoon commander that we need to make time to get dental exams for pre-deployment, right?
Yes.
So then you got a roster, and you got your pencil, and you're going through. So then company commander, he's like, yeah, we got to get on this.
Mm.
You guys work together, get everybody sent to dental. Then there's always these stragglers, right?
Right.
There's always the stragglers. The guy was on leave. He was on duty. He couldn't make that day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's like
What have you?
You have 90% compliance with your dental.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So then you go back to chief and you go, oh, we got 90% compliance. Chief's going, well, battalion commander's harping on my ass. I got to get 100% compliance on dental before we get deployed. You get it? HN Natron Don? And
Right.
aye, chief. So you go back and you say, well, platoon commander, here's my compliance. I still have 10% of the platoon, the company that is non-compliant with dental for whatever reasons. So you guys work together again, and you get that happening. And then you maybe get to like 95% compliance.
Mm.
So then you go back to Chief. You go, all right, Chief, we got 95%. He goes, well, that's not 100. You know,
Right.
and the cycle continues, and you keep splitting, fractions of a number until you get 98% if you're really, really lucky.
Right. I
And
don't think I ever hit
let's
above
not even
97.
open up. Let's not even open up eyeglasses. What
No,
else?
jeez. Inserts for the
Permethrin.
goggles?
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
Goggle inserts. Permethrin spray for the Prev Med techs out there that did
malaria
this kind of
pills.
thing. So we're in a unique position to kind of understand, given like medical deployment readiness,
Right.
we're in a unique position to understand where pressure comes from to make the numbers work. And
Right.
that's the perspective I want to offer any Marine soldiers, airmen, and sailors that aren't as familiar with the medical side of things
Right.
regarding readiness, things like that. I mean,
And
even if you come back with the most reasonable, beautiful compliance necessary, you're
Right.
still going to be a few fractions of a number off because there's that one guy that maybe got kicked out of the unit and he's still on the roster or something, you know what I mean?
Right. Oh, yeah. There's 2 or 3 of those.
And you can't get him to go to medical because he's already a civilian and, up to his tits in cocaine or something.
Right.
So your numbers are always going to be jacked up, and the way that they fudge them to get compliant in the best realm possible. Now, does it mean that fudging is right? No, it doesn't. It doesn't offer any excuse or, hall pass for the VA to be assholes and lie. But the pressures that exist in the higher echelon chains of command cause people to do things that they don't necessarily agree with in order to, achieve the mission, to reinforce the mission. I truly believe, even in spite of all of the controversy, that the VA has always tried to meet the demand of veterans.
Right.
But
I guess the point of this particular article and why I brought it up was I did see, again, it is full of the lovey-dovey, fuzzy, warm and cuddly wording, but it is time taken out of her day to try to explain how they track things and how they do their job, which I can appreciate. And I do, again, it's part of the great, wonderful internet and having things like Twitter where I can it's just sent to my front pocket, it goes and I just have to, it's a click away. And so I really do appreciate somebody who did take time out of their day, especially someone with a title like the Interim Undersecretary for Health for VA's Veteran Health Administration. That's a long title. I wish I could.
That is a long title.
I bet you her office has a window.
And I'll bet that an elected official had to appoint that person to take that title.
Yeah, so she seems pretty important. So she took a little time out of her day to write this for us. And so
people that get appointed by elected officials get paid pretty good.
I imagine.
I want to be appointed.
Right. It would be nice.
I want to be appointed on a state level. Just saying.
Right. I just want to be recognized.
Well,
somebody to be like, I would like to have my dad say "good job" one time. Just kidding.
Hey, Nate.
So, thank you for that, Radar.
Nate.
So, what? Good
job.
Thank you, man. I'm really working hard over here,
I know you are.
So apparently they've been tracking this data online since June 2014, and there was a site on this article, a little link on this article that you can get to all that information. But they use 2 categories: completed appointments and pending appointments, and this is all based on what is called the veteran's preferred date. And for semantics, the veteran's preferred date is based on the clinician's specified date for the patient to be seen. So the follow-up appointment that your clinician recommends or the timing in which your
Oh
doctor
my God,
recommends you
you're
see an
like
appointment.
totally melting my brain.
I get it. So this is kind of the point of it. Or 30 days from a date that the patient prefers to be seen in the absence of a clinical recommendation. Woo! How's that for you?
Whoa, clinical recommendation. There's the lesson for veterans.
Right.
Anyone listening, clinical recommendation. Do your best to know what you want and demand it.
Yeah. So kind of, yeah, I guess definitely to make the system a little more, to help you become a little more efficient.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, the world needs doctors, man, but, you know, take control, take charge, and tell your doctor what it is that you need and make them tell you why you might not need it if that's the case. So,
Yeah. So the VA considers the completed appointment data to be the best indicator of the veteran's actual wait time experience. So this is going to be the average wait time between that preferred date, that very long definition that I gave you, and the actual date that the VA completed the appointment.
oh God.
Yeah. So that's what they use as the best indicator. The pending data. This is the average time between the preferred date and the date the veteran's
Oh
appointment
God.
is
This
scheduled.
just
So you kind of see how this
can
keeps
you kind
going.
of like summarize?
I don't know how to like summarize this. Essentially, that's about as simple as it gets right there.
Well,
I
now
think.
I'm confused, and I work in veteran services, and I hear all the complaints of wait times and everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
Natron Don is the illustrious host of this
Yeah.
wonderful podcast that we
Uh-huh.
somehow keep limping through.
Right.
Can you tell me what it means to you?
To
Can
me,
you
it says,
summarize it?
yeah, I guess to me, this article says that they are tracking essentially VA appointments best. Every 2 weeks it comes about, they kind of take a look at the numbers by how many appointments they have completed by the preferred date of the veteran's preferred date and the actual appointment completion. So that's
Now,
how they're tracking.
okay. And, this came up.
However,
This came up at work the other day. I gotta interject. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. Yeah.
I came up in work this last week. Are we talking about claims or are we talking about care? Because appointments for claims and care totally different.
Did I say claims?
No. I'm just wondering.
Appointment for care, for health care.
Okay. Because I'm not aware of anyone asking veterans when would you like to be seen in terms of care. They do this with claims, like if you're doing a comp and pen evaluation, they'll call you. Well, at least our office will call you, and they'll say, "What days don't work for you?" That's them being reasonable.
Right.
Which
Well, that's an interesting way to kind of look at it, because if that kind of would null or invalidate a piece of how their philosophy here of this preferred date thing. Because in reality, there would be no actual preferred date. It would just be whatever the system says or recommends.
Right,
Or
and that's what they're trying to avoid. And through documenting, like, okay, like here's receptionist. You have to call this guy. Okay, I'm gonna call this guy, and look up his information. I call him. I say, hi, Mr. Natron Don. I'm calling to schedule your compensation and pension evaluation. This is a non-diagnostic appointment that is simply scheduled to assess the effect of your disabilities on your earning capacity. That being said, can you tell me the dates that you are certainly not available so that I can schedule you an appointment? Now, if I'm Natron Don, I'm going over my schedule. I go, well, things kind of look wide open, but other things come up.
Right.
They don't entertain that. They want to know, what dates are you not available? What dates are you definitely committed? Because they're actually making an effort with the volume of 20-something million veterans that exist, and the fraction of million that has a current claim going. So they're actually trying to help, but if something comes up, that date is solid. They don't have the time to just say, oh, you have to work that day? Oh, okay. Well, why don't you come in on a Saturday when you're not working? Because they're not working.
Right. Exactly.
So, oh, man. I want to play devil's advocate as much as I can with the VA. However, then this is all a very good conversation.
Mm.
I don't want it to be a point that veterans, anyone listening, thinks that I'm going, oh, yeah, just totally be apathetic about the care or the compensation evaluations you're getting.
Right.
Yeah. They asked you to do something, and going back to, let's say, Agent Orange, you gotta demand, and you gotta kick your feet. But did I just trail off?
No, I think we're good. I think I could jump back on.
Go.
Okay, so they said essentially to sum that up, and this is again, she says that the assertions about wait times in facilities like the Greater Los Angeles VA healthcare system is the assertions are incorrect, and she says that if you check the numbers, you would find that the VA is not as behind as you think, and that information about new patient wait times is only based on the VA schedulers that created the appointment in the scheduling system, and does not necessarily acknowledge appointments that are already have already been completed within those 2-week time, or same day appointments, stuff like that.
So lesson.
Lesson.
I'm John Q. veteran,
Right.
and I need an appointment.
You do.
I want that appointment.
Okay.
So I go. This is ideal, right? What I'm about to say. Ideal scenario. I need an appointment. I call the appointment line. I schedule said appointment. I go to my appointment. I meet with my primary care doctor, who is assigned to me through the VA healthcare system. I meet with them. I say, I think I need this. And they say, okay, well, I can't do that for you. I have to refer you to VA Medical Center that might be over 100 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
So I put in a referral, which authorizes the scheduling of referred appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I call up the appointment office, and I can't get in for 30 plus days. So then maybe I call my choice card hotline. I don't want to get too deep into that. Maybe that doesn't work, and I have to suck it up, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, keep going, keep it up.
Understand
that
if you're relying solely on VA healthcare, that you're going to have to suck it up more than once.
Right.
That it's overwhelmed. It's overwhelmed. It's underfunded for the volume that it serves. And as I've said before, it's the largest healthcare system in the world. Considering the volume that it has, it does okay. Now, do we want it to be, it does great? Absolutely. That's why we're here having this conversation. We want it to do great. But maybe to offer some of our vets some solace to sleep better at night, to ease a little frustration, just understand that there's personal accountability in relying entirely on one form of anything to fix anything or take total care of you.
Right.
That's the unfortunate reality.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
well, I guess another a nice thing to take away from this as well is that, and out of all those words I read to you and tried to explain to you, and then you can go back and read this yourself, between the completed and pending categories of that veterans fall into when they make appointments and all this stuff, is that one of the biggest things is that if you're confused, if you find these things, how their language confusing, it's probably because it's not as clear to them as well. If you know what I mean. Does that make sense?
No, and that's,
they don't have quite a clear picture on how to even track it yet.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the system is is full of folks that had careers and jobs and then retired. They were used to a certain algorithm of healthcare prior to retiring, and then without all the information, retired and said, well, I'm just going to go with the VA because I'm eligible, and I've essentially got free healthcare. Well, you make that decision, you cut off whatever sources you have. Maybe when you retire, you're not entirely eligible for Medicare, which you have to pay for through your Social Security at the age of 65, unless of course you have disabilities acknowledged by Social Security. And you have to pay for that out of your Social Security payment. You have to pay 100. I think it's 104 something. For Medicare Part B. You're already eligible for Medicare Part A, but to pay for the doctor visits, Part B,
Okay.
you got to pay some loot out of your Social Security check. If you opt out of that, the VA gets pissed because
Okay.
you're eligible and you're receiving Social Security. You should pay for your health care. If you don't, you can jockey between Medicare and the VA pretty successfully. Maybe we could talk about that for retired vets and other vets at some point.
That'd be a nice topic.
But again, for us, it's like, oh God, is Medicare even going to exist by the time I'm 70
Right.
when they bump the age up?
Right.
Who knows? That's that's years down the road for us. But for the people that are into it right now, a lot of the dissatisfaction exists between that gap. You get used to a certain level of care, and then you dial back because you think it's going to be cheaper. And yes, of course it's cheaper. You're eligible for care.
Right.
But all of a sudden, you got to wait for things.
Absolutely.
And you get pissed because you got to wait for things.
Mm-hmm.
That's understandable. It's a rational reaction. But the system is flooded.
It's large, and especially now, as we've seen kind of through these articles, especially the one with Secretary McDonald, is that we're kind of treading new ground in this. The numbers that have been approaching the VA, and that they're just kind of reorganized. In that,
and what I like about the rhetoric, even if it is just rhetoric, it seems to be a semi-honest appraisal of of the burdens that I deal with every day as a veteran service representative, the kinds of things that I see people complain about, and that I try to assist people in navigating, are kind of some of the things that he's addressing and making them known in conversation. You know what I mean? He's putting them out there, and I'm encouraged by the kinds of things that he's saying. Who knows if they'll change? Like I said, the proof is in the pudding. But in vocalizing it and in creating some kind of rhetorical transparency, that's where we'll find a solution. Is someone like that, given the hard facts, and then someone like me who works in this business to go, yeah, maybe something will happen. I don't know. I mean, if it doesn't, veterans, BZO your weapons. But
right.
I always want to follow up with that. Keep your weapons BZO'd.
What I've learned today, I learned an interesting fact about a revolution, or a part of the revolution that I didn't know about. Thank you, Uncle Whit, for that. That was very interesting. What was that called again?
What? The Shea Rebellion.
Shea Rebellion. Thank you.
Yeah, it wasn't
Shea Rebellion. I'll look that up. I'm not what you would exactly call a reader. So,
Shea's Rebellion.
I have the literacy skills of a kid who went to the.
Since you got it in front of you, if you do, can you tell me what building it was? Was it Independence Hall in Philly, or was it in Boston?
Shea Rebellion?
Yeah. Do
How
you
do you
have
spell
it?
Shay?
Oh, I thought you had it. I thought you were looking at it.
Oh, was it?
Oh,
But
weak.
I am now. Heyo, Shay's Rebellion. Massachusetts,
Okay.
and I don't have a building.
Come on, radar.
Oh, it's hurting me. Shay's Rebellion, radar. Hit me with the building. So what I learned today, aside from this awesome fact, uh, was that we are treading new ground in this whole VA thing, and that just like the aging population in all over the world, uh, the VA has become overrun. They're not expecting the numbers that they have experienced, and we're in a way gun decking, and we're not adding up the numbers correctly, and they're underfunded, possibly because probably because of their own fault. I learned quite a bit about that. I also learned about thinking about careers, thinking about what we talked about with the Secretary of Defense, Ash Carter, and he said about starting individuals' career focus upon entry upon the military. What that kind of gave me was that in a way you can rely. You got to always be self motivated and self driving. I'm kind of working in trying to push my papers through some bureaucracy right myself, and it could be very frustrating at times when you can't get. When I remember in the military, I had a piece of paper. We wanted to get like a leave chit signed. If you were real smart, you would take 2 hours and visit all the offices that you could who you needed to get signed. If you're real smart, but if you had the time, you could leave it on your petty officer's desk and just see what happens, see how long it takes. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So that's what I kind of learned about today is this being a little more independent because the system is in fact overrun and nobody is going to take care of you better than you're going to take care of yourself. So it's something to think about.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Uncle Will, what about yourself? You have what do you have? How could you summarize tonight?
Uh, uh, are we getting ding dinged by radar?
Uh, yeah, a little bit. We're running a little over an hour.
I don't care.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do have one other article, but
Should we not ding ding?
radar, give me a sound indicating your thoughts as a third party. I don't know what that means.
Give it another one.
Give us another one. Something a little more emotive.
Yeah. We're pausing a lot. I know. I missed that one.
I didn't get it. Nothing?
Yeah. No,
Maybe it kind of lagging. Anyway, so
maybe. So my takeaways from tonight are not much. I've just been talking and telling everybody else what to do.
right.
But again, I'm in a unique position to interpret the sort of media, cultural rhetoric, political rhetoric regarding veterans and veteran issues.
Right.
As a veteran and as a veteran service advocate.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I just hope that whatever I've said, don't hold me accountable for it because I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself. You know, uh, Uncle Whit on VetLine Radio said this, so it must be fact. But all I want to offer is for veterans a way to think, a way to analyze what's actually happening, and then if the VA turns out to be disappointing, diversify your options. You know, you gotta survive, and like I've said before, and you so kindly quoted me, no one's gonna take better care of you than you. You know,
Right. I
no
was
one's
gonna
gonna.
let that go and go down in my book. Damn.
You thought you
Damn
invented
you.
it?
No, I was just
Go
kidding.
back
No,
in the catalog.
no, I know, I got it. I know what you.
And I
I
didn't
didn't
invent
quite
it
cite.
either.
I didn't quite cite you, but I was just saying I was gonna let it go down in my quote book. You
It
know,
was good.
like those general like presidential quotes that you get, like
Yeah.
live each day like the sun is
sadly,
coming up. You know,
sadly for me, my ego is too insecure to let it go unsaid.
right,
Yeah. I'm
right.
sorry.
All right.
That was me
Well,
apologizing.
we thank you very much, everybody, for listening to our Lolita.
Radar
Again, you
says
could,
good.
yeah. Again, you can find us on Facebook at VetLine Radio. You can find us on Twitter at VetLine Official. You can find us on Google Plus at VetLine Radio as
Don't we
well.
have some people to thank?
We do. I gotta get those. Pull that up though. It's taking me a second.
God damn it.
I know. I'm ill prepared.
Let me just say this. While you're pulling that up, Nate, while you're
Mm-hmm.
pulling it up, pulling it out, and swaggering it around and flailing it all over the place, and nobody wants to see it.
Right, setting it on shoulders.
Maybe on fire, if you're
Right.
crazy. I'll just say that everything that we do and everything that we say on this show is to hopefully offer some solace in that you're not alone. Just like when you were a veteran, just like when you were, sitting next to the guy on your right and your left, doing whatever it is you're doing, that you're not alone in the struggle and the frustration. That with a little explanation, with a little guidance, maybe you can find some reasons why things exist the way they are, and find some, logic behind the frustration, what's actually happening. However, all that being said,
Mm-hmm.
frustration harbors, frustration builds, and if things are not to your satisfaction, you have a set of tools, you have a set of mindsets, and an entire body of individuals that share your experience. Don't stray from them.
Right.
Don't stop talking about it, and don't stop demanding better,
Mm-hmm.
better, better. We may not get perfect in our life, but we can sure as shit do our best. So, that being said, keep your weapons BZO'd, veterans. BZO.
Very nice. So we haven't advertised it in a long time. Maybe we'll post this on Facebook once again. It's been quite a while.
It has.
But we have a GoFundMe account, crowdfund account with GoFundMe.com /VetLine Radio. We want to thank a number of people off our site who have donated. The first one is Arturo in San Diego. Thank you for your donation. Robert in San Diego, thank you for your donation as well. Chris in Oceanside, thank you for your support. Jason out of Santa Fe, New Mexico, thank you very much. I guess I should say Oceanside, California, right? That would probably be a professional hosting to do. So Chris out of Oceanside, California. Jason out of Santa Fe, New Mexico, thank you. And Nick the Pirate out of Newport, Oregon, thank you for your donation as well, keeping us going. What is it? Nicole out of San Juan, thank you very much. And Cole from Portland, Portland, Oregon, excuse me. Thank you very much for your support of the show. We appreciate you putting your hard working dollars towards keeping us going. That is true honor, and thank you very much. Again, find us on all your favorite social media. Let us know how you like us. Give us your love, your comments, your insults. We want to hear it all. We want to hear what you have to say about the show. If you want to be included on the show, you think you're an interesting individual, let us know.
Yeah.
We may have you.
Be a voice. Why not? If some random dickbag emailed me and said, hey, I'd like to be a guest on your show, I'd be like, fucking rad. Let's do that. We have to do a little, we have so many platform issues, but, we'll coach you through it. We'll get you logged in.
Right.
We'll make you a guest and make your voice heard.
We'll make it happen. So, again, we appreciate you all. I'll end it all again by reminding you all to stop being yourself. You're not good at it. It's not very fun. Just stop. Try to be something just a little bit better. For anything, any last notes there, Uncle Whit?
Yeah. Don't
What's
let your meatloaf and don't let your rubber tire.
Nice. All right.
That's actually a quote by Gandhi. I don't know if you know
Oh, look at you.
that. I'm just kidding.
uh, I totally bought that one. How gullible am I? I just ate that one, swallowed that
You,
one.
you really think that Gandhi would be like brandishing a Coors Light in a can?
Who
And be like,
knows?
yeah, and don't let your meatloaf, don't really let your rubber tire.
Who
Good
knows?
advice.
Oh, jeez.
Anyways, moving on.
Anyway, for myself, the Nate Chondon, and your Uncle Whit, and along with the radar, we wanted to say thank you. And taps, taps. Lights out, America.